We're talking about situations where there has been people uprooted and living in refugee situations or places where they've been displaced internally for over 10 years. It's an ongoing program and an ongoing problem.
In Cambodia, more than 300,000 people are returning from camps on the Thai border. The Sri Lankan Red Cross is supporting nearly 50,000 displaced who have fled the conflict zones of a 10-year civil war. Refugees are pouring into camps in southeast Nepal from Bhutan, with their numbers set to rise to 120,000.
These are three key programs for the Federation. We're talking about a large number of people, almost 500,000 people, in programs that have been ongoing. So for us, it's very important that we continue to support these programs to give the refugees and displaced people a certain standard of dignity and support. And we must not forget that whilst we have Yugoslavia and Somalia on the front pages, that these people are not out of sight, out of mind.
Amid the hustle and bustle of Asia's big cities, with their double-digit growth of recent years, it's all too easy to forget the deprivation faced by families whose lives have been changed by conflict or political upheaval. It all seems a world away. In fact, the problems are right there on the doorstep. The International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies is involved in relief operations across Asia, including the three countries highlighted in this programme: Sri Lanka, Cambodia and Nepal.
Well, the important thing that the Red Cross can offer is, first of all, to ensure that a certain standard of dignity, safety and dignity, is available to all the refugees. And in that sense, we have to look particularly to the people who are most at risk in the refugee situation. People who are the most vulnerable include solo women with families, the sick, the elderly, the young children. People like this are the people that Red Cross target to try and support through these very trying times.
Few are more vulnerable than young mothers like Sithi Farida, so severely traumatised after malaria treatment induced a spontaneous miscarriage that she does not even recognise her eldest son. Sithi is a victim of the long-running civil war which has been raging in the north and east of Sri Lanka and forced tens of thousands to flee the country or to camps outside the conflict zones. The Federation is organising specialist psychiatric treatment for Sithi. She is also being attended by the doctor who leads the Sri Lanka Red Cross Mobile Health Team, which visits each camp in her district every 6 weeks.
She had an attack of malaria and she had taken treatment from a private practitioner where they had given chloroquine. After she had taken the chloroquine, there were about 2 doses, she had abortion. So on the same day that she was aborted, she had seen the clot. Suddenly she had seen the clot, blood clot passing. Then she got a attack, a shock. After that, she had fainted and she didn't know what to do. She was behaving in an abnormal way. I think it is a permanent brain damage.
Mobile health teams are an essential element of targeting the vulnerable among the populations of some 220 camps in the non-conflict areas. In one morning, the doctor in this team has managed to see 61 patients, while between them the public health nursing sister and the midwife have fitted in a further 50 home visits. A pharmacist and a public health inspector complete the unit's professional staff. The Sri Lanka Red Cross also makes a major contribution to relief activities in the camps, complementing the assistance of the government and other aid agencies.
At the moment, Sri Lanka Red Cross is providing dry ration for unregistered families. Then whenever necessary, we provide them shelter material for the cooking place and the toilets. Then we provide the clothing, household items, and sanitary items like disinfectant and chlorine powder for toilets.
Inevitably, conditions are far from ideal, and this camp in the suburbs of Colombo is effectively a cardboard city, with boxes dividing the living areas, which average 3 square meters each.
The main problem is the space is not sufficient because there are 590 people living in this place. So it is crowded, actually, all the time.
This was an awkward problem for newlyweds and those wishing to extend their family, until the Red Cross-led camp committee stepped in and set aside a storeroom where couples can enjoy some privacy.
After we came here, my wife and I felt that we need a baby, so we were given this room for us to perform that marriageal act.
While the displaced in Sri Lanka have fled their homes and a vicious civil war, over 300,000 Cambodians are returning to their native land after years of living in camps on the Thai border to escape the troubles which have beset this stricken country over the past 2 decades. The Red Cross in Cambodia, as the main implementing partner of the UNHCR, manages 6 reception centres where returnees spend up to 5 days before moving to the destinations of their choice, mainly in an area concentrated on west-central Cambodia. UNHCR's operation began in March 1992, targeted at achieving the voluntary repatriation of 330,000 refugees before elections just over a year later. Within 9 months, over 2/3 of the refugees were returnees and resident once again in Cambodia. Supported by the Federation's camp manager advisors, the Red Cross in Cambodia has seen the returnees through the early days and into their new homes. Ven Nguyen left Cambodia in 1979 as a teenager and returned 13 years later, married and as a mother of 2.
We are very happy in our new home. Our family have been helped by many organizations like the Red Cross, and we are grateful for their support.
I think it has gone a lot better than it was to expect it when we started. I think at the same time there are a lot of lessons to be learned in this, but as a whole it has been, we have seen far better results than we could have expected before we started. Very little demining has been done. This was a thing that we all believed in the very beginning, that demining would be a forerunner for the work we were going to do, especially with locating land, cultivation land, etc., for the returnees. Once they arrive at their final destination, they are housed, they are fed, we could say, for 400 days with an interval of 40 days between each ration. We do our best to monitor all the final destinations, make sure that they're all right, that there's at least a reasonable level of health, their health is okay. And I think looking into the future, we will be doing more development work in the areas where returnees have settled, as well as in areas with what we call local people.
For the Red Cross, the end of the repatriation operation will mark the beginning of its long-term task in Cambodia, reaching out into the community to ensure especially vulnerable individuals like Pho Keng are not forgotten. He's a 39-year-old father of 6 whose legs were blown off in a landmine accident a few years ago. For as they depart for their new homes, the returnees are coming back to a country with its health service in disarray. The Federation has district health support units attached to each reception centre and operating in 2 other provinces. Their work is community-based and involves direct contact with vulnerable groups, focusing on primary health care in rural areas, a grassroots approach to building Red Cross activity and commitment. Training is another vital aspect of the programme and covers first aid courses like this one, where 2 volunteers are participating in a mother and child health exercise. Annette's scarf, sponsored by Australian Red Cross, sees funding as the major factor for success.
Well, at this moment we have funding just for 1 year. If we want to establish a program that is viable, we have to look to long-term program funding that will take us into 1997, maybe would be viable. We need to be able to establish trust, which takes a long time. The sanitation portion of the program will be in itself expensive. The village that we're in at the moment, we're doing a sanitation assessment on. There are 250 families here taking water from a dry riverbed and with no latrines anywhere in the village. So to make even inroads into the sanitation program in the 15 villages that we're assisting is going to be a very expensive business.
Peace is very vital for any of the Red Cross activities to continue and develop in Cambodia. Our district health support units have trained several hundred first aid volunteers in their community outreach activities. They are basically community oriented.
Over the past 30 years, the Nepal Red Cross has developed a series of effective community programs. But the major challenge at present is the arrival in the southeast of the kingdom of nearly 80,000 refugees from the nearby country of Bhutan, where changes to citizenship laws are said to have caused the exodus. Tens of thousands of refugees are living in 7 camps in the districts of Morang and Japa, and their numbers are rising daily. The influx started in mid-1991, quadrupled to 76,000 during 1992, and is expected to reach almost 120,000.
The Red Cross have been providing relief materials to the refugees in the form of clothing, for women, saris, underwear, and also for the children, new clothing, shorts, long trousers, shirts, which are being produced locally by the district chapter in Morang in their warehouse. We're also supplying blankets as per UNHCR criteria, and impregnated mosquito nets have been distributed to the refugees to help reduce the malaria problem.
Inevitably, the presence of the refugees, who can sell their labour cheaply, has led to tensions with the local population. The difficulties are exacerbated by the impact of the camps on the environment, with open defecation in the forests and the refugees returning each day with bundles of wood to keep their home fires burning. The Federation is seeking funding for reforestation projects similar to this Nepal Red Cross initiative in nearby Morang district. But with no sign of a solution in sight, as UNHCR officials make clear, the National Society can expect to assume an even wider role.
In this situation, when we're talking about multi-year plans, we're looking at our own activities phasing down so that we can deal with emergencies in other parts of the world. And that goes also for the international NGOs, which are our main implementing partners here. They're also looking to phase down their activities over time. And in those sort of circumstances, we are hopeful, well, we are planning to hand over more and more activities to the national government, such as health, and also, of course, to indigenous NGOs and local societies.
That would be a considerable challenge for the Nepal Red Cross and its dedicated team of staff and volunteers. A bigger operation, of course, requires more funding, and in its latest global appeal for refugees, returnees and the displaced, the Federation is seeking 1.6 million Swiss francs for Nepal, also 5.7 million for Cambodia and 1.7 million for Sri Lanka.
Our goals are relatively limited. We have particular targets for the funds. So now it is up to us to to apply them with our professional experience and management to the areas of greatest need. That's not to say that there are not many difficulties, and we cannot cover all the problems. But for all of that, we have some natural advantages. We have a society, a Red Cross society, working in every one of these countries. So we have a key support mechanism for what we're doing. We also have programs that are particularly sensitive to the needs of the local people. We have to remember that when people come and seek asylum, they create a lot of social and economic hardship for the people in the areas surrounding their refugee camps. So we work to try to provide some balance to that. Our main task is to make the funds go further for the benefit of the people who need them most.